Hello and welcome to the Spotlight Vancouver podcast. I am your host, Doug Varenas, licensed real estate agent in Washington and Oregon. And today we're going to talk about multi-generational living, who is buying multi-generational homes, why they're buying them, and what to look for in a multi-generational home. Let's get to it. First of all, multi-generational homes are hot right now, and I see this trend continuing into the future. It's something I've spoken about multiple times, especially as an occupational therapist. Watching this silver tsunami come online, we got more and more boomers retiring, getting older, getting into the healthcare system, having increased healthcare needs, and that in combination with some other factors is leading to a boom in multi-generational housing, and we're going to continue to see this. And how I define multi-generational housing or a multi-generational home is having 3 or more generations living under the same roof. So that could be parents with their kids and grandparents, any combination of generations really. And it is a trend, again, going to continue, seeing a lot of it. And the two people or the two main groups I see buying multi-generational homes are, one, they are older adults who are downsizing. But what they're actually doing is they're looking to downsize, but at the same time, bring in their younger children into the mix. So they might be, they already own a home. They're looking to downsize or relocate. They have children living somewhere who are, because of just how expensive housing has gotten, they're struggling to come up with the money to buy a home by themselves. So what they're doing is these older people are selling their homes. They are buying new homes, bigger homes to accommodate themselves as well as their children. And so that's one group of people I see buying multi-generational homes. I've seen a number of these people and are helping them find these very specific homes with very specific floor plans. Of course, everybody is an individual and looking for their own thing. But in general, that's the first group. In the second group are are people, usually middle-aged people with older parents who are sort of looking down the road. They might also be looking to downsize or move, and they're doing that with their parents in mind. So their parents may be living somewhere else. They're getting a little bit older. Maybe those parents are looking to sell their property. And so the older middle-aged parents are looking for homes that can accommodate their aging parents. So it's just sort of the same thing, kind of in reverse. So you have parents looking to bring their children in because they're having trouble financially affording a home and need a little bit of help. And so they can all live together. And then you have people with their aging parents who are looking to buy their next home with their aging parents in mind. Those are the two main groups I'm seeing, and I'm seeing more and more of them. And so why do multi-generational housing? Well, first, as I mentioned, for everybody, but especially younger people, the cost of buying a home has gotten really expensive relative to wages. So owning a home for many people is becoming more and more out of reach, and that's for a lot of different reasons that I won't get into, but let's just say overall that, relative to the median wage in America, that purchasing a home has never been more expensive. And so if they have parents who own homes or own their own home, maybe they own more than one home, and they're looking to downsize or they're looking to relocate, they have their own limitations in mind and they want to sort of help out their children at the same time, they will look for a multi-generational home because that really helps the kids out before the parent, leaves it in an estate, like in their will. And more these days, wills and estates to just, you need to give it away. Like if you have an estate and you have children who are, young adults, kind of struggling or even not, like the best time to give away your wealth and to pass that down is when the kids need it. Because odds are when you pass away, they'll already be established in some way and it won't help them as much. Like if you can help them now, go ahead and do it. So I do enjoy seeing that as a trend where these folks are buying homes for their younger children so they can cohabitate. So there's a huge monetary reason to buy multi-generational housing, just from an affordability standpoint. And that goes, and healthcare too. Like the cost of healthcare has gone up. The cost of individual care, as far as like nursing homes, assisted living, is astronomical. And so another component of it, and you can put this in a cost saving category or quality of care, but it also involves cutting down on that cost to have the family members taking care of each other. So having the younger family members taking care of older family members as far as like keeping an eye on them, making sure their laundry's done, preparing meals, like basic stuff, non-medical stuff, but very important stuff, very important aspects in regards to healthcare, because having to pay somebody to do that or sending them to an assisted living is really expensive. And so I think for a lot of people, the option to have their older folks living closer to them, and by living closer to them, I mean living under the same roof, really solves a lot of problems in regards to like peace of mind with healthcare quality and just being able to keep an eye on those older parents. And that sort of transitions into the non-monetary reasons for multi-generational living, and they are enormous. We live in a lonely culture. We tend to separate, we move away, we value independence, we don't value interdependence. And so more and more elderly folks are living lonely lives. And we all are. Like, it's not just limited to the elderly. I feel like everybody living in America, at least, is experiencing loneliness to a certain degree, like just because of the way society's set up. So I do feel like having multi-generational living, more than one generational living in the home, creates just a more warm and connected social infrastructure. So I may have my children, they live with me, and if I have grandma living with me, she can provide some childcare. So that's, another economic component, because childcare is also super expensive. So, man, we really have like a trifecta of cost cutting here with regards to just housing in general, pooling resources to buy a home, multi-generational home. We have the healthcare component, cutting down on the healthcare costs by providing supervision and basic amenities like laundry and food, and just keeping an eye out and providing some help here and there, which is huge. And then childcare, also expensive, also can solve that need if the grandparents or, older generation is able to watch out for the children. This, creates, an immense advantage for families, I believe, because they can save on some childcare, and also just having them closer to their grandparents. Like, I just believe there's such a huge mental health benefit to that, and a social benefit. And I don't have any I don't have any stats on this, but I mean, if you look at blue zones like, Italy and Okinawa and in Japan and stuff, like they have more connection and they have more intergenerational connection. And so I think that just having everybody together, having the children more exposed to the older generation, having them interacting more often, sharing knowledge, sharing their experiences, is just, you can't put a monetary value on that. So I think that's huge. And not to mention like stronger marriages. I don't live in a multi-generational household, although I am thinking about it. Really, I think that's going to be in my future as well. And I think that's going to be tremendous. But like just getting like date nights and time away from the kids, like if your parents live far away and you're not able to take advantage of them just being able to come over and watch the kids, again, you're paying like quite a bit for a babysitter. It's nuts. Like even my 14-year-old babysitter makes like pretty good wage. She just upped her rates, so good for her. I appreciate her. She's like a little entrepreneur, so good for her. But yeah, it's just an added cost. And so those monetary and non-monetary costs, like they dovetail. And again, you can't put a monetary benefit on all the social advantages of having a multi-generational home. I think it's a movement. I'm gonna hot take. It's a movement, and I think it's kind of a revolution. And if housing continues to be this expensive, and healthcare continues to be this expensive, and childcare continues to be this expensive, which I don't see it getting cheaper anytime soon. I think it's going to be a revolution in living and how we live. And I can only see that being a good thing. Obviously, you got to be kind of conscious about it, and there's bound to be some conflicts and boundaries that need to be set, and everyone needs to be an adult. And I'm sure at sometimes you're going to just be like, this is kind of crazy. But at the end of the day, I think the days of like, as far as living goes, and being like independent and everybody's living in their separate little home, I can see that getting less and less. And again, I think that's beneficial for society, if I may have an opinion on that, because we definitely live in a less cohesive, more separate, lonelier society. And so I think multi-generational housing, like, solving a lot of problems. Some of them are practical, some of them are more esoteric, but I think it's a good thing. And so that brings us to the question of what should you be looking for in a multi-generational home? And just shameless plug, as an occupational therapist especially trained in such things as aging in place and accessibility. If you're looking for a multi-generational home, you can always schedule a 100% no pressure free consult chat where we can talk about all these things. You can choose to use my services or not. I'm happy to help. You can do that by emailing me at doug@dougvarenas.com or going to tidycal, like tidy calendar, tidycal.com/Doug Varenas to schedule a chat with me. I would love to just get your thoughts, see how we might be able to work together and just be able to answer your questions in a super stress-free, casual way. So some of the things I would be looking for in a multi-generational home are having at least a primary suite and a main bathroom on the ground level. An entirely ground level home is great, but in my experience, I've seen it where, it's good to have some separation between the generations. So again, this is going to be very individual and according to everyone's needs. But in general, you're going to need to have an accessible bedroom and bathroom on the ground floor. This is something that all of my multi-generational folks are looking for because you don't want to be walking up and down stairs. And so there are ways around that. There's like stair lifts and stuff where you can, I'm thinking of a movie right now. I think it's like Home Alone or something anyway, where you sit on the thing and it takes you up the stairs. I've seen elevators in places that can get really expensive. So it's good to consult and think about these things beforehand so you can get a jump on them and kind of avoid those renovation expenses. So ground floor. Related to that is going to be stepless entries or one-step entries into living spaces and backyards. So an entrance should have no steps or one step. Access to the backyard should have no steps or one step. We're trying to eliminate steps if you haven't caught on as much as possible, just because they lower the risk of falls. For one, a lot of falls happen on stairs and steps. And they also provide for, in the future, if for some reason you'd have to use a wheelchair, they add a little bit more of an easy, accessible, it's easier to modify those areas for entrance instead of steps or stairs, because then it gets a lot more challenging and costly. And so after that, I look for open concept. So wider hallways, like a minimum 36-inch hallway. The more open the spaces, the better. Again, this has to do with mobility and also fall risk and safety. So the more narrow spaces you have to negotiate, it's going to make it difficult if you're using a cane or a walker or a wheelchair. And then just having more stuff in a smaller space increases like the risk of falls. So open concept is preferable with clear sight lines into different rooms. Again, this is for safety and for ease of mobility. So I would definitely look at a more open concept home. Next up is going to be, so in the bathroom, huge area, huge concern for falls, slips, falls, injuries. I'm going to look for walk-in showers or roll-in showers. So, a very small step or no step into the shower is going to be preferable. And if you can get that on that ground level bathroom, that's going to be the best option. But at least having one bathroom with a walk-in or roll-in shower, again, depending on your specific situation, there's other factors that are going to be involved in that bathroom, looking at, non-skid surfacing for the shower. You may have some sort of grab bars or a bench or a shower seat. That's again, it's very personal, but at the bare minimum for the home, I would look at a walk-in or roll-in shower. And let's see, and a lot of people, the last one on my list is something that people sometimes forget when looking at a multi-generational home for, especially older generation, but for everybody, is just being closer to amenities. So, and that includes the hospital or whatever healthcare is needed, but also just like close to parks, close to classes that the person is taking, or, a walkable neighborhood that's, more that has sidewalks. So it's a little safer. That's going to be, people are going to have different interests, but you don't want to be far from those interests and amenities. You want to have access to them, be able to easily participate in those activities that are going to really enrich your life, especially if you're older. You don't want to have to be driving long distances. If for some reason you weren't able to drive, that's going to make it incredibly inconvenient and to have these things further. So I always suggest that you're around the amenities that you use and enjoy when looking at a multi-generational home. Because a lot of these homes, some of them are, they might be on acreage or something and they're kind of out. They're further away from the amenities. So it's something to consider when looking for these multi-generational homes. So that about wraps it up. Multi-generation is here to stay. There's several reasons to buy a multi-generational home, and that could be for parents who are looking to downsize and who are looking to help their children out by including them on the purchase of a home. Or this also includes the sandwich generation, middle-aged folks who are looking to buy a new, usually bigger home to accommodate an aging parent. I mentioned some of the cost reasons and some of the non-monetary reasons that multi-generation is going to take off. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments what you think about multi-generational living and where you think it's going, and especially if you live in a multi-generational home. I'd love to hear about your experience. Drop something in the comments. Let me know what your experience is like, and I look forward to seeing you soon. You guys take care. See you on the next show.